Okay, I'm here today with Amanda Killen. I'm glad to have her on the program today. I've been wanting to visit with her for a long time, but she stays extremely busy. A lot of things going on. I mean, tremendously busy. And I know if anybody out there happens to be on TikTok at all, you've seen her before. So much information, so much good stuff. I mean, it's good. Okay, I love watching your programs. I watched them a lot, and I watch a lot of that stuff. I watch it, and I always try to like, share, and follow everything too. Okay, so nobody gets in trouble. Like, follow, okay, and watch the whole program. But I appreciate you taking time. Like I said, tremendous entrepreneur and things like that. But where did you grow up at, Amanda?
First of all, you've always been so gracious to me. I appreciate it. I grew up in Thompson Valley.
Oh, that ain't far.
No, it's not far at all.
Yes, in the city of Thompson Valley.
In the city of Thompson Valley. I'm originally from Dickinson County.
Okay.
So my family's from Hayside. We moved to Thompson Valley when I was 8.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were a little far from the grocery store. Up the head of the holler.
It was a little bit of a haul.
Up to the head of the holler. Mm-hmm. I know a lot about Thompson Valley. I knew had a lot of friends down in that area. Steve Hankins and his family.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Grew up with them.
So I grew up beside the Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
On that end of the valley, on the Hankins end.
Okay. All right.
Right before you.
Right. Yeah.
Traverse the back of the Dragon.
Drove across that mountain going to Marion. I used to work in Marion every day, and I had to drive across that mountain. I hit one of the few guardrails on that mountain.
No kidding.
Yeah. Hit it one morning. It's all foggy.
Wow.
And pow! If it hadn't been for that guardrail, they'd never found me. That was something. It was terrible. It was awful. I was in a little old Dodge Colt. I was working for McDonald's in Marion, and I used to drive across that mountain every morning, And I remember like yesterday, I had my Walkman on, and I had my headphones on, and I couldn't see anything. And all of a sudden, hit that guardrail.
Wow.
It was scary. It really was.
It's a treacherous drive. It's 32 miles and 438 curves. And I've always
I didn't know that.
Had sympathy for people who drive across those mountains to get to work.
Yeah, and people get tricked when they use their GPS sometimes. A lot of truckers come across through there and think, what in the world has happened?
Yes.
I've had them to call me before, bringing stuff and thinking, what, do you know? I said, you didn't come that way, did you? Yes, I did. You talk about it and come across through there. And what were you thinking about growing up? What are some memories you think that stand out in the valley?
Well, speaking of the back of the Dragon, it's so funny that road has become such an economic driver here because growing up there, it was just a nuisance to have to go across those mountains for a football game or for any reason. It would make you car sick. So I think it's really an incredible story that we've been able to take that asset, that natural asset that's inherent to Tazewell County, and capitalize on it.
Yeah.
I loved the serene surroundings. I loved being able to just be gone from, as long as I wanted to, just going through all of the hills and the mountains and the countryside and just everybody. The thing that I love the most still to this day, when you drive through Thompson Valley, everybody waves at you. Whether they know you or not, they throw up a hand and wave at you.
I was thinking about, when I was in Walmart yesterday, and 3 different people said, "How you doing, buddy?" Okay, you know what I mean? I was walking out of the restroom, another guy coming in, he said, "How you doing, buddy?" I said, "Doing good." You know what I mean? It's something. The farther you go north, that doesn't seem to be like that.
And that's why people just remark on how kind and polite our people are here, because they're not accustomed to that.
Right. Yeah. I tell them when they ask you how you doing, they're not being nosy. They'd really want to know how you doing.
Right.
Sometimes it might be being nosy, but as a general rule, you're trying to sort of be nice. But I don't know. Well, when you think about, did you play in the woods? Did you ride ponies? Did you throw rocks at cars? What did you do when you were young?
I would ride my bike down to my friend Ashley Begg's, her house, and she would ride her bike up to my house, and we'd meet in the middle. Right. So that Diamond Rio song, "Meet in the Middle," that's our song. Right. I'd walk her way and she'd walk mine.
That's cool.
And then we would just spend the day exploring abandoned houses, I hate to say it, and caves.
Well, you think of those memories growing up and things that you enjoyed.
Yes.
And I think of things that bring me back, and we were talking earlier about things that remind you when you were young. And you don't know why you like. I'm always trying to figure out why I feel like I feel. I don't just want to feel the way. I like to know why I feel like I feel. It's a little bit OCD, I guess. But I think of smells and things that remind me when I was young. And they bring you back, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
We were talking about pine saw a minute ago. I'd rather smell Pine Sol than perfume. I just love the smell of Pine Sol. It just, I'm cheap. I'm not going to buy that for my wife and tell her to put it on because I've been married too long for that. 42 years. I'm pretty much.
If you show up with some Pine Sol.
It don't go over good. It don't.
There's a Jeff Foxworthy joke there.
Yes, ma'am.
Somewhere.
Yeah, but I think about, I think about growing up, and I think about those things. There's a lot of stuff, when I was thinking about talking to you, I was thinking, I'm going to ask her some questions, okay?
Okay.
Now, let's talk about this. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? I love to help people. It lights me up to be able to help a community. I work with a lot of towns in the region, in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and I love to see a small town starting where we started here in Tazewell with vacant buildings and blight everywhere you look. I love to see them organize an effort.
Okay.
And see that grow. And so I'm privileged to be able to do that and see that progress in multiple communities. That lights me up and makes me happy.
Okay. Let me put a little pressure on you.
Okay.
Let's take it back, everybody else. And let's just say you. What do you enjoy? And I know that's great, okay? And I interview preachers that get in preacher mode on me, okay? And I know what you really do, and you're good at it. So when you're good at stuff, it does make you happy.
Yes.
But I think sometimes we have to look inside of us and say, all right, what do I do? I mean, if it's crocheting, if it's whatever,
you're going to laugh.
Okay, what makes you happy?
I love to roller skate.
Well, now that does really throw me off.
And I do often. We roller skate. My daughter and I roller skate on Main Street from time to time. We find an empty parking lot and we roller skate in the empty parking lot. We love it.
Did you do something on a video one time about? Did you roller skate on was there something I remembered?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Possibly so. I have some cheetah print roller skates.
Okay.
And so I've probably posted a video showing off my roller skates because I'm pretty proud of them.
Growing up, I loved roller. We roller skated a lot in the 70s, okay? I mean, it's where we got girlfriends and boyfriends, and when they'd done the couple skating, and we used to have we had a roller skating rink over there in Bartley over in West Virginia, and the floor, it had rained on the floor, and the floor had a part down the end, it was all humped up, and you zzz when you went across it, you know what I mean? And we were always roller skating. It was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was. Well, growing up, for me, we had United Skates.
Right, I remember.
And there were two. There were United Skates and Skate World.
Right, I remember both of those.
A lot of division. It was kind of like you click either went to one or the other.
Yeah.
So I was a United Skates kid myself, and we went every Wednesday and Friday night.
That was cool. The only thing I had about roller skating, I dated a girl that was a skate guard. She was
okay. She had the whistle.
And I was scared of her, okay? And she was a softball girl too, okay? And so she was pretty stocky and tough. And I wanted to break up with her for a long time, but I was a little scared. She was really tough. I mean, because she was a skate guard and she was a softball girl. Things like that.
That's intimidating.
Yeah, and I'm very easy to be intimidated. And I remember that. Those are things that grow up in your mind. But it was I loved roller skating. I used to love that. Now I ain't getting on them, okay? Because I keep 3 points of contact now when I'm going down steps. Because at 65, I don't want to throw a hip out. I don't want to break nothing. I want to be. And I know I've got buddies that are older like me that are not as cautious, but I'm a little careful. But as you think about it, that's something. See, I think sometimes we have to go past the point and say, what makes us happy? What are we really? What do we really enjoy doing? And I don't know. There's some stuff. And it's good because I think that helps keeps us young.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, to do something. And I don't know. All right, let's talk about cooking.
Okay.
Okay. And when we talk about cooking, and I know what you're doing here. I see all this. But do you like to cook?
I used to like to cook.
Okay.
My husband loves to cook, and so I don't cook a lot anymore. He does most of the cooking at home. I cooked last night. And I did enjoy it. It was good. I like to cook when I'm cooking something I'm good at. And
what'd you cook?
I made teriyaki chicken with Chef Clisso's teriyaki sauce.
Okay.
That's a new partnership we've embarked on here at the coffee shop. And I made rice with Chef Clisso's Yum Yum shrimp sauce.
Okay.
And we sauteed zucchini and squash.
Right. And I like that.
We added pineapples to the teriyaki chicken. It was amazing.
I do that. I like a lot. I like doing a lot of chicken, teriyaki chicken, things like that. I bake a lot of chicken. I like to bake it. But I mean, enjoying to cook is different. That my wife has said, she cooked to keep us alive. I like to cook. I just enjoy the whole process of it. I like it from start to finish, and I've done 40 cooking shows, but I like cooking. I never did till the pandemic. And I said the pandemic affected my family differently than a lot of families. It caused me to start cooking. My wife, it caused her to quit cooking. I don't know how it worked like that, but now she can't get her hands up in the cabinet for some reason to do a lot of the cooking, except Thanksgiving and Christmas. She seems to do that. But the other times, she says, no, you do the cooking. But I enjoy that. And there's a lot of men that seem to enjoy it.
I enjoy it more when I can have my children in the kitchen with me.
Right.
And I have a tiny little kitchen. It's not very big.
Right.
And so they'll be spread out. There will be a kid sitting on the countertop and a kid sitting on the trash can and a kid, just hovering. I wish that I had a kitchen with one of those islands with the bar stools and the countertop where everybody could hang out in the kitchen while you cook.
Yeah, we live in a little house. My house is a little over 800 square feet, but everybody comes to eat at my house. Back when the power was out a while back, I mean, we didn't have any electricity for however long it was, and I'd run a generator and had a gas stove, but everybody still come to my house and eat. They had power, had power and internet, but they still come to my house and eat. They come there, but I think getting everybody together and being able to do that it is good. But people don't care how tight it is, your family. They don't really care.
They really don't. And something special about not having electricity, we really enjoyed those few days of not having any internet, phone, or power, and there was something that just sort of unified everybody. We played kickball in the backyard all day long that first day, and it was magic. Now by day 3, we were ready to have hot water, but I really treasured those 2 days there that we had, where we were all just together, no distractions, everything was quiet. You didn't have to worry about somebody being here and somebody being there. Everybody was under one roof.
It sort of gave you an excuse to do that. You know what I mean? It gave you a reason when other times you were thinking other stuff you needed to do.
That's right. You were forced to slow down. No distractions, no social media. We didn't have internet, so everybody was together, truly together and present.
I hooked up my generator, hooked up my power units to internet. My camper was in the driveway, and I kept water and everything in it. We took hot showers, and it really wasn't that big of an inconvenience for us. I was glad when it came back on. Don't get me wrong, but I was tickled to death when it did come back on. But it does make you step back just a little bit, and but like you said, our nature, we don't want to step back for long, but we do step back for a little while. All right, so that's very important. Now, here's the one: are you a creature of habit?
I don't think so. I'm pretty spontaneous.
Okay.
And it works for me. I don't think I have many habits.
Well, that's really strange. I don't know many people not like that. But you're not as old as a lot of people I talk to. Okay. I mean, as creatures of habit, we have habits and things that we do specifically. I mean, I've got so crazy now. Big thing I've been looking at is that knife is crooked since I've been here. Okay, you know what I mean? I think about stuff in my head, and I look at some things and I think about them and become a creature of habit. But we talk about I've talked to a lot of people about good habits and bad habits and how we can come up with a bad habit. You know what I mean? And we build on that and we do it, and we have some good habits that we do and I think a lot of that has to do with the people we're around. It's easy to pick up bad habits.
You have to monitor the people that you're around so closely, and who your friends are defines who you become.
Right.
And it's really hard to leave that in the past sometimes, but if you ever want to grow, you have to do that.
Yeah. I don't cuss. I just never could pick it up. I use the wrong words in the wrong place. Never could get it right. Okay. But I had some buddies that cuss a lot. But I noticed when it's just me and them, they don't cuss. But if they get around one of the other ones and he says something, then they both are blanking this and blanking that, blanking. I said, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, you wasn't using that language a few minutes ago. Right. But it's like you pick up and it starts taking off. It's so, I've always said, if you just focus on the people you're around, the rest of it will take care of itself.
That's right.
And because some people won't let you do things that you normally would do.
Right.
Or they'll look at you. I've got one buddy of mine that's an extremely good planner from his finances. I mean, he's just always been all of his life. He's a saver, an investor, looking ahead for his children. He is really, really good. He's my good friend. I'm completely the opposite, okay? I mean, when I would get enough room on my credit card, I'd go on vacation, okay? If I had a little money in my pocket, I'd take the kids and we would do something. You know, and I laughed, me and him talked the other day, because when I talk to him about the way I am, I can see his blood pressure go up.
Yes.
But I love him, and we talk all the time, and we go and we laugh because we're so different.
Right.
And I really like the way he is. I enjoyed it. And I told him, I said, we need people like you in the world that are not like me. We need those people that plan and look ahead.
For the balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's, I tell him all the time, I'm so glad he ain't like me. I mean, I just think it's so, all right, so let's talk about this subject. Let's talk about money. Okay? I talk a lot about the difference between being rich and being wealthy, okay? But when we talk about money, in order to do what you've done with your life, you seem like I mean, by the world standard, I know we're both extremely wealthy and successful, okay? Because there's a world out there that's in trouble. But when you look at your life and you think you're an entrepreneur, you work on things, but see, there's some keys that you have applied and principles that you've applied through this process. It's not willy-nilly. So there's people out there that got a payday or work all the time, but they never can seem to get ahead, okay? But I believe it's because they don't apply the same principles that people like you have applied to their life. Does that make sense? I know that's a lot, but I mean, I think that when we look at it, what are some principles that you have applied that you could say, this is what I think will help you?
I don't think that the principles I've applied would always be necessarily a sure thing. I've leveraged a lot of debt to get where I am, and I've made that work, and I have taken a lot of risks, and I have a really strong will. I've been very determined to see all of those ventures through, and that has probably been the key to my success. It's just sheer determination and grit. I will not let it fail.
Ambition.
Right, ambition. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of what you're doing, is that you got to be ambitious.
Right.
To do that.
I have a problem saying no to some of those things, and so now I'm trying to learn how to do that and pick and choose what is the right fit. What is the right fit for me, and not overwhelming myself. I found myself with too many things on my plate that I have been determined to be successful, and so that's the point now where I can't continue to do that, and I have to in fact offload some of that if I want to grow what I know in my heart and go in the direction that I know I need to be going. I have to offload some of this responsibility and some of these businesses, and then it'll be an opportunity for someone else.
Right.
Yeah.
My son got me one time, and I'm real bad. He said, Dad, he was taking some classes talking about business. He said, what you're doing is completely wrong, because I'm a little bit of a serial entrepreneur. I would do, I would have a game store here, and I have something else there, and something else here, and I have all these different businesses. Somebody say, and they would get a good idea. I said, let's open a business.
That's my problem.
And I started dialing back. Okay, I started making some changes and saying, all right, I'm gonna make some changes here. Because he told me that, and it made a lot of sense. And but I would a little bit. Serial entrepreneur is the word I believe I was. Okay, when I tried to research what I was and why I done what I done, and that was just part of it. And it's because you're ambitious.
Yes, and my granny used to say something to me all the time. She would say, "Can't never could do nothing," and you've probably heard me say that phrase on TikTok. And I took that a little too seriously, because I literally think that there's nothing I can't figure out or do to the point where it's a problem. So I see an opportunity like you, and I think, oh yeah, I can make that work, no problem. Yeah. And then you wind up with too much on your plate, which is where I am today. But
she messed you up. Okay, because my grandfather did me the same way. My grandfather messed me up because he always made me believe I could do anything anybody else could do. When I couldn't, okay? There's people that could use a basketball like I couldn't use it no matter what. There's things that people could do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even when it comes to business, there's some people that could do some things, but I really thought I could do anything. that anybody else could do. And I come to find out that I had things I could do that I was good at. And when I started doing things that other people were good at, sometimes I get out of whack.
And there's a book that I read recently. It's called The One Thing. And it's all about finding your one thing and putting your focus on that.
Okay.
And then it's been real eye-opening for me because I've, as a serial entrepreneur, hadn't really wanted to admit that. But reading that book has shined a light on that I do need to focus on one thing, and I am still not ready to accept that because there are so many things, and I enjoy them all, and they've all been good. But I think I know where I'm going. But there were some really meaningful quotes in that book. One of them was, think about. I will often joke and say that I'm a professional juggler. I have all these balls in the air, right? Well, the work ball, so to speak, is rubber, right? You throw it around, it's going to bounce.
Right.
Your family and your home life, that's glass, and if you drop it, it shatters. Work will always be there, and your family not so much. And so that was real eye-opening for me, and I try to keep that in mind as I make my decisions going forward.
All right. When we talk about ambition, okay, and I'm just going to challenge some things and think about some things, all right, because I'm from a different aspect, okay. Early on in my life, I felt like I always wanted to do more and more and more, okay, I'm very ambitious, and I'm not as ambitious as I used to be. I am. I mean, I've done 70 of these interviews, okay, so I guess I am a little bit. But I like to go after things, but I want to, because I have a task I feel like I have to complete in the time I have. But when I think about being ambitious, sometimes we do it for different reasons. I think we can do it one thing we can do for pride, and it's all real, because pride makes the world go around. It makes you sell makeup, it makes things work, okay? There's envy, pride, there's different things that could cause us to be ambitious, and it's hard to check those things. And say, I don't want to do bigger because, and like I said, I mean, I had 8 restaurants at one time. I mean, everything I did, I mean, I would do it in that respect. And I don't know why, but I mean, why do you think? Why are you ambitious?
I've never really thought about that. That's a pretty deep question.
Yeah.
I think growing up in financially challenging circumstances will either make you ambitious or make you continue to be, enslaved to that poverty mindset.
Right.
And for me, I've gone the opposite direction. Credit a lot of my creativity to growing up with limited resources, because you have to be
that's
creative.
Tremendous.
And you have to figure out solutions. Your resources are very limited in that case. And so
because see, you would have, now I love that, because see what happens is you would have hired somebody to do it if you could have.
Yes.
Okay? I mean, it comes down to things that you look at in your life. You think of things. So much of my life, I've got buddies that have done the same path I've been on, but they could afford to hire somebody, and I said, hold on just a second. I've got to learn how to do this because I can't afford it. And it's some of you were blessed with not having the money.
Yes, that's right.
It don't make any sense, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know for sure, okay? But if you had a wealth, if you were sitting with $20 million, okay, you would probably have somebody back here putting them cookies. I seen you having them putting them in the little boxes, okay? You'd probably say, hey, Jimmy, handle that stuff. He'd have the big chef hat on and the white outfit. And you'd just be grinning, and you'd be sitting up there reading a book about romance, okay, or something. You know what I mean? But I see you putting the cookies in the box,
right?
Okay, and it's something though. But you know the cooking. I heard you talking about this is good and that's good, and this is better, and this is why this takes so long to make the macaroons. This is why it does that. But if you didn't have to do that,
right?
It's cool, ain't it?
Right. It gives you a great advantage.
Yeah, and people miss that.
Yes.
I really believe that, man. I think about stuff, there's a different, fool with horses a lot, and there's difference between somebody that's, I see different young people riding horses and showing competition, and I can tell the difference between that little 12-year-old girl that rides her horse every evening at the barn and the other one that's daddy just pays the train. And you need all of those. I'm not saying one's good and one's bad, but I can see a difference in that other one that just gets on at the time of the competition.
Yeah, very true.
And so it's strange how you're thinking lack of resources is a blessing.
It is a blessing.
But it's crazy. I don't know. I think about being ambitious, and I go through that. I go through that a lot. Okay, here's a topic I've been thinking about a lot lately. The difference between knowledge and access to knowledge. Okay. In this world we live in now, in this generation, and all of us are part of this generation, we have access to knowledge, and we think it makes us smart. But sometimes we don't have the knowledge. If the guy on the ambulance comes by to pick you up, he can't Google how to stop that arm from bleeding. He's got to have the knowledge. And I think there's some confusion now, and there's people don't go after the knowledge because it's so easy to access it.
Taking things at face value and not looking a little bit deeper, and a lot of people don't have all the information about a topic, but consider themselves quite the expert on the topic because they saw a tidbit of information about something, and that is a problem with having everything so easily accessible and not having to do any work for it. When you have to do the work for it and you have to do the research and you read and you have all the real facts,
yes, ma'am.
There's a huge difference in that kind of knowledge and just superficial
the access
information. Yes,
you have to know some things, and it's like cooking and then going strictly by the recipe. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense. I'm awful with recipes, but I mean, I think of how we can have the access to knowledge, and it seems like we think we're smart because we have the access when we don't have the knowledge. I mean, I study a lot on things now that I didn't know before. I mean, I study on the Civil War because I'm very interested. But I mean, and I start to gain knowledge, and I share it with everybody. And I've got another book that I read a lot, and it's like this 1,000 useless facts. And this stuff I say, man, and then I always punch people in the room and say, do you know this? Did you know about the longest piece of spaghetti? You know what I mean? But it's something how the access, I think, we're in a generation that has access to so much information, but I don't know if they have the knowledge.
It's also true for history, and we're going to lose all of that knowledge when as generations pass. If that knowledge is not preserved, and that's one reason that I started my TikTok channel and started talking about our traditions that we have here and things that my granny taught me and shared with me, because if I don't, my children won't be aware of those things, and their children certainly will be completely lost by then. And that's a lost. What a wealth of knowledge that we're losing every day. Because we are not actively preserving that knowledge and the history too. There's so many interesting stories that have taken place here in Southwest Virginia that people are just completely unaware of. And
let's do what you said a moment ago when we're talking about this, losing this information and this knowledge and the things that people have around us. One reason I do this program is I really have in my heart that there's treasures hid in these mountains. There's people and I believe you've got this, you understand this. There's knowledge and wisdom and ideas and life experience that the only thing I am in the business of is the transfer of information. That's all I'm doing. I'm not building bridges. I'm not building brick walls. I want to transfer information. And I think if we don't get that out there, get it to people, that we lose it.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to lose it. I mean, I've talked to people that have shared things that absolutely were tremendous about growing up and things in their life, and I think that's I don't want to miss that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I mean, when you're doing what you're doing, how do you feel like? I mean, when you talk about the job that you do, and what is it that you do?
Well, aside from the businesses that we've talked about, I help communities with revitalization efforts through grant writing and fundraising. And I do a lot of grant writing for small towns and nonprofits. I have some for-profit clients as well. And then I layer in revitalization consulting. So I help towns and nonprofits who are working toward revitalization sort of follow the playbook that we built here in Tazewell and what we were able to accomplish here, going from having nothing on our main street in 2015 to now we have all these thriving restaurants and retail locations. I help towns get organized, to get their nonprofit organized, and then help them seek funding to see those projects through to fruition.
Yeah, that's a lot to do. I mean, you have to really be organized to do that.
Well, I'm not.
Okay.
But I have a lot of help.
We'll edit that part out.
Yeah, I have a lot of help.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you have to be able to know your junk, okay,
Yeah.
and to be able to complete projects. You know what I mean? To go through things and see the end of it.
Right.
That takes a different type of vision.
Yes.
I mean, it really does, because you have to be able to see the end of it before you ever get there.
Well, it's really more about motivating, helping folks get structured and organized, and then motivating them,
Right.
and inspiring them and teaching them how to do it. I can
Right.
come in and write a grant for them, no problem.
Right.
But I want them to know how to do it, so that the next time they can do it themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what I do. Is
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time showing my clients how to do this.
Well, I don't know. All right. Okay, now we went into some things. Now I want to talk to you about something here. Let's talk about minding your own business.
Okay.
Okay, that's a big thing to do, isn't it? I mean, this is my thought. Okay, and I've taught my children this, and I try to stay with them on this. I believe the more of your business you mind, the more of your business you get done.
Yes,
Okay?
that's very true.
But what happens is we can stray off into other people's business, okay? And I study people that fail, okay? I've studied a lot of people that fail. I study some people that succeed, but I seem like if I study the failures, the success seems to come pretty easy. But I see people that fail in life that seem to have a life of chaos, and the common thread I find is they always have their nose in other people's business.
Yes.
That's a little harsh, but what do you think?
It soothes something inside of those people to talk about other people and to,
Okay.
to
Absolutely.
share whatever it is that
What is it about that adrenaline that
it
comes?
makes them feel good.
Yeah.
It makes them feel good, and
Yeah.
just for a minute,
Right,
just to,
right.
to throw a little dirt on someone, it makes them feel good.
It's a challenge not to judge.
Well, I've always been a believer that you should own your actions. Where I have a problem is when people want to come up with their own narratives
Right.
and their own stories that
Makes sense.
have no basis in reality. That's where I have a real problem.
Yeah.
And then they want to share that, and then as they share it, it's the game of telephone. It grows.
Yes. Yes.
And you have to have pretty thick skin to put yourself out there in the public eye, because people
Right.
will make up the craziest things about you.
Right. I've been on television since 1995. Okay. Most everything I've done's been recorded, and on television, and I've been in front of a lot of people. But when I think about things, one time a young man, one of my son's friends said, "I heard that your dad ran off with his secretary
Beautiful.
and went to Pigeon Forge."
Yeah.
And he got to thinking, and Colson said, "Well, he's really right, but Mom is his secretary." Okay,
That's-
so you know what I mean. It would it made sense in that world. But I mean, you hear stuff and you think of how it's so. I don't know. There's an adrenaline rush comes when they get a bit of gossip or they get something they can tell,
absolutely.
and it's a real world we live in, and that part of us is a monster there that seems to be able to. You can feed it.
Until you've had it done to you, you
Right.
don't understand how truly damaging it is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm real bad for. My wife says I'll make excuses for Charles Manson. She always tells me, "You're so terrible," because I'll say things. And one friend of mine told me, he said, "Your problem is you think everybody's okay." And I said, "Well, I sort of need as much forgiveness and mercy as I can get, because I'm a little rough."
Sure.
And I really need
We all
that.
are.
And so but I think to not mind your own business, and people out there, people would do that. And I know that, man, when I hear something, me and my cousin gossip to each other a lot. Okay, we talk a couple times a day, and we'll talk to each other, and we laugh, and we'll talk about stuff, and we say, "No, we're not going to say this outside here." No, he said, "We're just saying it between us." And but that you'll hear gossip, and you'll hear something, but the more, I believe the world is only, and I've shared this 1,000 times, there's only two sections of the world we live in, an area of influence and an area of concern. And I listened for a year to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. For a year, I listened to it over and over and over. And the big thing I see is there's an area of my life I can really change. I can really influence it. And there's another area I can only be concerned about. And this part that I can be concerned about, the least amount of time I pay attention to that, and the more, I've only got so many hours in this day.
Right.
You know, that's all I got.
Yeah, and to vote any minute of my time into being concerned with what anybody else is doing is a waste of my time, and I won't do that. I'm not a fun friend to have, because the minute you start telling me what you heard about someone, I'm going to shut you down. And
but I think that's because you've been through those things.
Yes, I will say, you know what, that might not be true. You know, I'm not fun to call up and in fact, that if that means I don't have many friends, then I'm okay with that.
But doesn't that thin back, because there'd be no fun to bring gossip to you?
It can't
See?
be. Yeah.
So you would say, there's no sense in me telling her, she won't like it.
That's right.
She won't accept it. But I think about that, how we mind our own business. I'm a firm believer that if we'll take it and say, I'm gonna mind my own business, I'm not gonna get into that.
I also feel that here, especially, I know it's prevalent in lots of towns, and especially small towns, but here, especially in Appalachia, we have a scarcity mentality. And we think that if someone is doing well, there may not be enough for me, right? And so we want to tear that person down any way we can. So if they perceive you as being successful in any way, or improving yourself, well, it could be anything. Many people want to tear you down.
Yeah, but do you think that, I don't know, that rotten part of us that's there? I mean, like when Jim Ramey was big in his day, when he was alive, and him and little Jimmy had car dealerships, I never had nobody say, man, I'm excited about Mr. Ramey got another dealership up Princeton.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said that.
It's a very good point.
Even though he was supplying all these jobs.
Right.
And all these, buying braces for kids. It was furnishing homes for people, and payroll dollars.
He truly gave back to the community.
Okay, but you think about that, and I think about men like Jack Harry that are no longer here. But I think of these kings that have been in our land, and how they the McCann family. I think of these people that supplied all of these jobs for people, but instead of being excited for them and thinking it was a great thing, how nobody ever bragged on it and thought it was a good thing.
You're exactly right.
And I don't, our nature, but that's that nature part of us that's rotten.
It is.
And it's a battle to keep it under control. I try my best. I work on it.
I believe that talking about it, though, is helpful, and pointing it out. A lot of people just don't realize, hey, this is hurtful, this is harmful to someone. Why do I feel this way? Why do I want to share this bad thing, or that I don't even know is true or not? You know, you don't even know why you're doing it. You just do it. It's the culture here. It's how we communicate and bond with each other. Yeah,
I think it's the world over, because this is the thing. Good news doesn't make money. Okay, bad news makes money. Okay, you will not be watching a TV station long that's just talking about the butterflies and the people that had their good things happen in their life. You're not gonna watch that. But man, when a hurricane comes on, everybody wants to watch the news. Okay, and bad news sells. Bad news makes money. Good news doesn't make money, and that's why it's so. And I'll use this term, okay, and it's not a great term, but I use this. I use the cat poop terminology. Okay, you can walk all day in a beautiful field of flowers and nice hay and the trees, but if you step in one little pile of cat poop on the way home, that's all you're going to talk about. You're not going to talk about anything else. Okay, you're going to go with that and say, look here what I've done. Look how awful this is. And it seems like we run in that place sometimes. I don't know. All right, real quick.
That's very true.
All right, I'm get you done with this. Okay, let's talk about forgiveness.
Okay.
Is it a big thing? Should we do it, or what do you think about forgiveness? Tell me what you think about forgiveness.
Well, I believe in forgiveness. I don't believe in forgetting.
Absolutely.
You know,
I've not
let
met
the
anybody
same snake
that does.
bite you twice.
Right. Absolutely.
And they often will.
So you think that it's something we should do?
For your own good, not for that person, but for your own good. Keeping that inside of you is only poisoning yourself. It doesn't hurt the other person. If I don't forgive you, it doesn't hurt you any. It just creates negativity inside of me and hurts me. And so I forgive you for my own good.
All right.
But I won't forget.
See, and you're not supposed to. You'd be as dumb as you were the first time. You know what I mean? I'm real big on that. All right, one more topic.
Okay.
Marriage.
Okay.
Okay. What makes a good marriage? What makes a good one?
It took me a really long time to figure this one out.
But people need to know.
But I believe I'm there. Just complete and total transparency and honesty, and you have to find someone that you can be completely comfortable with, that you know you can be vulnerable with, and they're not going to hurt you in any way. And that's very hard to find. And I think I'll often say we get really hung up on material things.
Okay.
We're all really, really guilty of that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think you have to let go of those types of expectations.
Okay. You know, what part does respect play in all that?
Very much. Yeah. Big on the respect.
I believe you got to respect each other. And you know, you can say I would die for somebody, but will you vacuum? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or will you pick up somebody else's dirty clothes?
Right.
Okay. I've met people that I meet some people in the back of my mind. I think they would never serve anyone else. Okay. And you know, I think when we talk about marriage, I think it's 100-100, not 50-50. And I think we have to be able to treat each other with that kind of respect and do that.
Well, some days you might have 50 and I might have 50, and some days you might have 10
right.
and I have 90.
Yeah.
And there's a give and take there. I think it's really important.
I'm real big on respect. I think you should, when all else fails, respect it.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to make sure that all those things are done. And I work with a lot of men, and I try to talk to them about respect for their wife. You can love your wife, but you won't pick up your own dishes.
Right.
Okay. You know, and I usually make a commitment. You know, all right, just one more second. If young Amanda walked in, and not old Amanda, but adult Amanda was here, what advice would you give her?
Oh my goodness, that's a really hard one. I don't know, John.
Yeah. What pitfalls would you tell her to watch out for?
I think that demon inside of people, that negativity that we were talking about,
right.
You know, that the projections of other people onto you that didn't have anything to do with you.
Right.
Would probably be my biggest advice to her. Is, you know.
Yeah. To watch out for that.
Doesn't have anything to do with you.
Right.
It's all about this other person and how they're feeling inside.
Makes it. This morning I was sharing with him at breakfast about how just if someone doesn't like you, I don't think you can just work harder to make them like you.
No, they're going to be committed to disliking you.
Exactly.
Yes.
And don't even know why.
Right.
I've seen that. But anyway, I appreciate you. I really do.
Thank you, John.
I do. I thank you for taking time and doing this. I think there's important treasures that have to be shared.
I agree.
I appreciate you, and I like
Yeah.
it on TikTok. I watch your stuff, and I laugh at some of it. You know, and
Thank
some
you.
of it I say, what the heck is she talking about? And I have to back up and rewind it, okay? But it's beautiful. It takes a lot more work to do what you do than what you think. And not what you think, what other people think. It takes a lot more to do it. All right, thank you. I appreciate Amanda being here with me. I appreciate her taking time and sharing that. I think there's important people that have wisdom and life experience, and I believe she's one of them. Thank you for watching Just from the Shed.